cooler to slip a bird to the system, and now it's trendy to be triggered and pretend you're a victim. It's my race, it's my weight, it's because I'm a Christian. I hate the internet and anyone who has an opinion. And everybody angry if you say white. Okay, fine, pass me the brush and I'll paint my face to the shades right. Let's talk about abortion. Sorry, tell me how this works. Bacteria is life on Mars, but a heartbeat isn't life on Earth? Weird.
Life's so stupid, why are y'all so stupid?
Get better problems, I swear to God that y'all want them, y'all so dumb.
People so stupid, people so dumb, people so boo-hoo, wah, wah, wah.
Get better issues, we're gonna run out of tissues, it's so dumb. I'm a hater cause I can't relate to gay pride. Call me homophobic because I don't wanna date guys. K-tight. I for one am not surprised the world declined along the way. Give trophies to children for losing just cause they decide to play. We exercise our right to vote and hate the politicians. Ay, this is a democracy, it's partly your decision. Ay, this is weird, feels like this a different year. If I identify as a female, then when my balls and penis disappear. Children want a gender switch and hating men is feminist. Depression and anxiety are trendy, we're too sensitive. Invented 80 genders, mad the world is not accepting it. Then gave them more attention than normal women and men can get. What a contradiction, being human is so tragic. Focus on minorities, ignoring all the masses. Hallelujah, everyone. Activism saved the planet. No more plastic straws and paper, just paper straws wrapped in plastic. Congratulations.
Life's so stupid, why are y'all so stupid?
Get better problems, I swear to God that y'all want them, y'all so dumb.
People so stupid, people so dumb, people so boo-hoo, wah, wah, wah.
Get better issues, we're gonna run out of tissues, it's so dumb. Look, I get it, it's like the world is going crazy. Seems like a school shooting happens almost daily. The racism, rape culture, hatred that we're facing is way too ingrained for our hashtags to change it. We've become so lazy and complacent, afraid of our generation. We think activism's Instagramming memes and complaining. It's a problem when there's actually actions you could be taking, but you're triggered so you just cry like a baby.
Life's so stupid, why are y'all so stupid?
Get better problems, I swear to God that y'all want them, y'all so dumb.
People so stupid, people so dumb, people so boo-hoo, wah, wah, wah.
Get better issues, we're gonna run out of tissues, it's so dumb. Praying that the world changes soon, can get a high. I'm praying that the world changes soon, can get a doobie on a plane, but there's Uzis in our schools. Every dude who touched a boob or a booty getting me too. What you expect from the kids who went to Hooters after school? We're all triggered and defensive, we're all racist and we're sexist. We all grew up watching South Park. How are we offended? Now being fat is beautiful? Name a thing that you can't do? Jumping jacks, run a mile, live past 42? Man, it used to be cooler to slip a bird to the system, and now it's trendy to be triggered and pretend you're a victim. It's my race, it's my weight, it's because I'm a Christian. I hate the internet and anyone who has an opinion. And everybody angry if you say white. Okay, fine, pass me the brush and I'll paint my face to the shades right. Let's talk about abortion. Sorry, tell me how this works. Bacteria is life on Mars, but a heartbeat isn't life on Earth? Weird.
Life's so stupid, why are y'all so stupid?
Get better problems, I swear to God that y'all want them, y'all so dumb.
People so stupid, people so dumb, people so boo-hoo, wah, wah, wah.
Get better issues, we're gonna run out of tissues, it's so dumb. I'm a hater cause I can't relate to gay pride. Call me homophobic because I don't wanna date guys. K-tight. I for one am not surprised the world declined along the way. Give trophies to children for losing just cause they decide to play. We exercise our right to vote and hate the politicians. Ay, this is a democracy, it's partly your decision. Ay, this is weird, feels like this a different year. If I identify as a female, then when my balls and penis disappear. Children want a gender switch and hating men is feminist. Depression and anxiety are trendy, we're too sensitive. Invented 80 genders, mad the world is not accepting it. Then gave them more attention than normal women and men can get. What a contradiction, being human is so tragic. Focus on minorities, ignoring all the masses. Hallelujah, everyone. Activism saved the planet. No more plastic straws and paper, just paper straws wrapped in plastic. Congratulations.
Life's so stupid, why are y'all so stupid?
Welcome to a matinee afternoon assault on bullshit, brought to you by me. I'm not the one, but I'm one of the many people who absolutely refuses to cave into fucking bullshit. Okay? It's Friday. How are you guys feeling out there? I am going to be away for a few days. So yeah, that I'm planning on having a fun weekend. I'll be bringing some books with me, so hopefully I'll get in some reading. To start out here, a few things I want to address. I mentioned this earlier, but I'll mention it again. I want to start doing a, hopefully, monthly book club videos where I'm able to successfully read a book and then talk about the book. And the first one that's on the docket is Propaganda by Edward Bernays. And hopefully I'm able to get that done by the end of September. I'd like to be able to get it done by next week and do it on like a Thursday. But I can't always guarantee that. The RNC was awesome last night. I didn't watch all of it. I watched a good portion of it. I was also out yesterday for quite a while with one of my friends who is, for lack of a better term, very liberal and extremely conditioned and unable to have a discussion about this stuff because they say things that are not true. And then when I disprove the things, I'm being called an asshole and I'm told that I'm calling them a liar, which I am. But even when I attack the people saying the people who told you this are lying and you believed it, then I'm called an asshole. So I don't discuss things with these people. But, and I wasn't going to go ahead and watch the RNC on my phone. And I got back very late. I watched what I could. I watched Trump this morning. Excellent speech. We're very fortunate to be in the situation that we're in. To have hope. To have a way out of this. To have a path back to freedom. You know, for most of my life, going all the way back to when I was kind of pulled out of my haze back in like 2002, 2003, Slaughter was a traitor. You know what? He did have some stolen valor. There's no doubt about that. But, I'm wearing this shirt as a commemoration to the G.I. Joe character, Sergeant Slaughter, who was a great American and fought for our country. Because in the G.I. Joe army, he was actually a sergeant. Unfortunately, he did have some stolen valor. And of course, brother, we know you went to Iraq, brother, and you burned the flag of Hulkamania. Jack, you got those boots from Saddam Hussein, man. But this Sergeant Slaughter on G.I. Joe never sold out to Iraq and didn't steal valor and never sold out on his country. So I'm repping him for today because he is a great American. Even though he didn't serve in the military, unfortunately. But yeah, so going back to what I was saying here. First of all, Bobby G, thank you for liking the stream. I just want to say, though, I'm very fortunate to be living in the country the way we are today. Because going back to, 2002, when I was kind of pulled out of this phase, pulled out of this fog, I was extremely depressed, man. For those who know my story, man, I didn't do shit for myself for about 15 years. Till I started working at Alliance Security, I did nothing to benefit myself. The propaganda version of an Iraqi sympathizer. Very true, though. Very true, though. He was the propaganda version of an Iraqi sympathizer. But with that being said, though, I got pulled out of this, and I had such little hope. Because my first question when you realize, at the end of the day, the thing that you realize is everyone's lying to you. The media is lying to you. News is lying to you. Your government lies to you. They're intentionally manipulating you to get you to believe what they want, and it's not reality. That's the core aspect of what we're talking about. Waking people up from that is getting them to understand that. You are being lied to. That's it. You're being lied to in school. You're being lied to on television. You're being lied to in movies and music. And every other facet. And once you realize that, it was very depressing. And anyone that knows my story realizes I had a very shit time for a lot of my life. Because I did nothing to benefit myself. Because I always thought that this was going to end up as me. And yes, it does include the right and the left. And especially George Bush, who I hated very much. But Junior and Senior, more so Junior, because, again, he was the one that was there when I was kind of pulled out of this, and the one that I probably put a lot of blame for what happened on 9/11 and the lies that were perpetrated and the cover-up done by the government in that situation. I put that on him and his administration. But now I'm realizing that regardless of who the president is, the other people can be very bad. But hear me out here. I put very little effort into my own life, because I always believed we were going to end up in a prison planet. And I believed that it was going to be, no future. There was no fighting it. It was just a matter of time. You try to tell people and let them know it's going to happen, and then shit goes bad, But something crazy happened little less than 4 years ago. And that is that Donald Trump got elected by us, the people of the United States of America, to become the president of our country and to attempt to make change. And I now understand that not only was there hope the entire time, I had shut myself off from that possibility, and I had not believed that there was hope the entire time. And because, again, it didn't matter which politician, like Michael Torres said, didn't matter which politician, whether it was right or it was left, they were both doing the same things. They were both lying no matter what they campaigned on. It was bullshit. And then they got into office and they didn't do anything they campaigned on. And it happened. It was habitual. It was almost like you couldn't even fathom to believe what it would look like if we had a president that actually kept his promises. Now we know. Now we know what it looks like to have a president that keeps his promises. And it's just so crazy because we're in a situation where we have someone, Donald Trump, who makes promises and delivers on these promises and does so in such a way that he's actually, it's funny because they were talking about it last night on the RNC about how the left went extremely radical after Trump was elected. And I'm going to kind of break down how and why this happened right now. The left took a radical shift in 2016 where it was kind of still happening, but it was under the radar during the Obama administration. Yes, he was letting men go into women's bathrooms. He was doing a lot of crazy things, but it really jumped the shark and went overboard after Trump because the left had to resist every single thing that Trump said or did, and therefore had to condition the left into believing that pro-America things were bad for them. Had to condition the left and brainwash them into believing that things to help you watching this right now were bad for our country. And that just turned the left farther and farther off from reality. And I'm going to my left, but in our reality video, I should be going this way because that's where you're looking. But this is my left over here. But, I mean, it's true. Open borders was something that it wasn't heard about. I heard about open borders for the first time probably in 2004 when I went to the movie theater, a local movie theater in Providence that had an event hosted by Jack Blood, who was a radio show host, who was doing a screening of, what's it called? With the fucking owl. The fucking thing in the woods. How could I not think of this? What it's called. Bohemian Grove. Inside Bohemian Grove. And before Inside Bohemian Grove was a short video about how they were looking at open borders. They wanted to sever the borders to Canada and Mexico and call us the North American Union, but it wasn't being talked about. And that was something where if you brought it up, they would tell you, no, that's a conspiracy theory. Now here we are years later, and there are actually people who do want to see open borders and don't think illegal immigration is a problem. So much so that they've come up with a weasel word for it, calling them undocumented citizens. So it's kind of the concept of George Bush, the concept, excuse me, I apologize for saying that. The concept of Donald Trump being such an amazing, such an honest, and such a genuine leader of doing things that are great for this country has made the left go unhinged and pushed them over the edge because they have to counter and they have to resist everything he does, even pro-American stances. So taking a pro-American stance, loving your flag and respecting your country, is now considered racist by these left people because they've been pushed so far left just so they don't support Donald Trump on anything. I'm surprised they haven't gone against his prison reform and said that was racist, but I don't think they could. That's why they just don't talk about it. So it's kind of an interesting situation. And any of you guys who joined us early, I actually had some music playing in the background. A gentleman named Tom McDonald. I highly suggest you guys check him out. If you're fans of hip hop, Tom McDonald here is tremendous. He's got great skills. He has excellent music videos. He is politically poignant. And he's also not afraid to say the truth. And not just a little bit of the truth. He's not coming at this from, I'm a conservative standpoint. Like, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with being a conservative. I'm a conservative. But I don't address this from, I'm a conservative standpoint. I address this from, I'm a concerned American citizen who understands that our country is being manipulated and brainwashed by something that is outside of the normal realm of understanding. And he kind of says that same thing, at least from what I've heard, which is excellent. And I highly recommend anyone go check out Tom McDonald. Heather says, I'm so glad they started their showing their true colors so people can see them as they truly are. They're nothing but hate and destruction towards America. Couldn't be further from the truth. But, again, you know, that is what it is. But they showed themselves because you have to resist. You have to make Trump out to be the enemy. And you can't make someone the enemy and literally Hitler and an authoritarian and a fascist if you agree with him on half the things he's doing. So as the left, they have to be like, every single thing he does is evil because he's literally Hitler. Every single thing he does is evil, and we're going to manipulate every single thing he does to show you why it's evil. Sonia, thank you for liking the stream. I want to invite everyone to share the stream now as well. Because, and I don't know what's going to happen, but we could have something fun coming up, or it could just be a whole bunch of this. Depending on how the day goes. I apologize for coming on early. It's 12 o'clock. I'm not going to be here later. I'm not going to be here at 5. I won't be doing a stream tomorrow. I won't be doing a stream on Sunday. I have plans. My lovely fiance has taken the weekend off, which is a rarity for her. So I get to spend some family time on the weekend. Unfiltered, which I'm very excited for. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm very happy about the situation this weekend. However, going back to next week, going back to Monday, I am in fact going to be streaming more often during the day. So keep your notifications on from the bottom of the rabbithole.com, right there. From the bottom of the rabbit hole. This is weird. This is an odd thing to do, is try to point to these things when I'm backwards. But yeah, check it out. Make sure you hit the bell. Save the bookmark. Who knows when I'm going to be removed from social media? I have no idea. But one thing that I do know is I really want to talk today, more than anything else, about how people will manipulate reality to come up with conclusions and be able to blame people for things that they're not responsible for. Now, this week we've seen, a ton of things go down. We've seen that gentleman whose name I don't remember, the guy who got shot going into the driver's seat of his car. We've seen the kid with the gun who was attacked, the minor who was attacked by mostly peaceful protesters until they started, obviously attacking minors and assaulting them. Convicted felons, by the way, attacking this minor. One of them was a sex offender. And So what you need to realize is people will really stretch the truth here. I'm going to give you my opinion on these issues real quick. When it comes to the gentleman in the police car whose name escapes me, but I've talked about it to a great detail. I've watched the video from both angles. The bottom line is this guy should have listened to police. Everything would have been resolved if this guy had listened to the law enforcement and had not resisted arrest. They went to his house for a warrant. No, they went to his house because of a domestic caused by him. Discovered he had a warrant on the way to his house. And he didn't want to listen. He didn't want to go back to jail. He didn't want to get in trouble. And he decided that fighting it was the only way. And it didn't work out too well for him. I don't fight police. If police come, I've been arrested multiple times in my life. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Every single time I listen to police. I do everything that I can to be perceived by them as harmless. Harmless. Because guess what? Police do not attack harmless people. I would be in the right. If police attacked me and I was being harmless and non-threatening, they would be in the wrong. But when you are fist fighting with police officers, you are in the wrong. When it comes to the minor on the street who was defending himself about these from these attacks, one from an armed, peaceful protester who was mostly peaceful. And because he only had a gun in one hand, and he had one hand with no gun, and neither one of his feet had a firearm, I guess you could say he was mostly unarmed as well, since that's how the media wants to portray things. He was defending himself against these people. He was on the ground, okay, on his butt after being assaulted, and he decided to defend himself from multiple people running at him, attacking him. And he used his firearm, and he shot them. And then guess what he did? He walked by police, and he showed his hands. And at no point did he grip his gun. At no point did he point his gun. He walked by police in a cooperative manner. It's that simple. It's that simple. Was he supposed to have the gun? I don't know. Probably not. Maybe not. Certainly he was wrong on that if he wasn't supposed to have the gun. But was he wrong for defending himself against someone who was armed? Absolutely not. If you have a non-law enforcement citizen threatening your life with a firearm and you have the ability to defend yourself, defend yourself. That's what the Second Amendment states. We have the right to defend ourselves. If he had had a baseball bat or a ball-peen hammer and he killed these three people with a ball-peen hammer and he broke the man's arm off with a ball-peen hammer, we wouldn't be having this conversation. He would be a minor that was being attacked. You wouldn't even know his name. I still don't know his name. But we all know Fentanyl George Floyd's name because he had 3 funerals on television and was in a gold casket for having a fentanyl overdose. One thing I want to also say is, you know, if this gets bad for me, I'm obviously doing this and I'm risking a lot here by putting my face out, my name, you know, being attempting to be a public figure here, attempting to talk to people. And if this goes bad and my reputation gets soiled, what I'm going to do is very simple. I'm just going to resist arrest and attempt to grab an officer's gun while overdosing on drugs, and hopefully they kill me so then I can die a hero as well. Because it seems like when you get killed by a police officer, nothing else that you've done in your life matters, and you're instantaneously a hero. So I want to be a hero too, and maybe I'll go and get myself killed by police if my reputation goes into the shitter as well. But I'm just, man, I'm very perplexed because it's like people don't even understand what this country is about, what this country represents, what we're trying to do here, you know, and people will manipulate reality to such a degree, and it's most likely because reality's been manipulated to them. They will manipulate reality to such a degree that it really is baffling. It really is baffling. And I don't even know what to do sometimes. I mean, I had someone telling me today that George Floyd's fentanyl overdose was caused by the police because they put a knee on the back of his neck. And I'm thinking of everything I know about the world and all my common sense, and I'm saying to myself, so wait a minute, does that mean people don't die of fentanyl overdoses if no one interacts with them? Is a knee on someone's neck holding them down and restraining them the catalyst for a fentanyl overdose? Did I miss that scientific study? You know, but this is what some people will claim and what some people will say, and it's baffling. It's baffling. The lengths that they will go to blame someone else, to blame someone, okay? And it's funny because I'm not affected by that. Like, I look at things as they are in reality. I don't, my opinions aren't able to be swayed by the opinions of others. I only look for information that I see and I determine real myself to shape my opinions. I'm the opinion maker, not the opinion taker. You know what I mean? And it's that simple. I'm the only one that's in charge of this. I refuse to allow anyone else into here. You know, it's that simple. So, because it's Friday, I have no agenda. And I just want to do something different. I'm going to play a music video. Why? Because I want to.
This video is real. This is the most blatant and ridiculous example of...
I'm a bit distracted by the fact that I'm not in my usual routine. My routine got messed up this week from sources that were outside of my control. And,
however you go back, Walmart's got your back.
Praying that the world changes soon. Can't get a doobie on a plane, but there's Uzis in our schools. Every dude who touched a boob or a booty getting me too. What you expect from the kids who went to Hooters after school? We're all triggered and defensive. We're all racist and we're sexist. We all grew up watching South Park. How are we offended? Now being fat is beautiful. Name a thing that you can't do. Jumping jacks, run a mile, live past 42. Man, it used to be cool to just flip a bird to the system, and now it's trendy to be triggered and pretend you're a victim. It's my race, it's my weight, it's because I'm a Christian. I hate the internet and anyone who has an opinion. And everybody angry if you say white. Okay, fine. Pass me the brush and I'll paint my face to the shades right. Let's talk about abortion. Sorry, tell me how this works. Bacteria is life on Mars, but a heartbeat isn't life on Earth? Weird.
Y'all so stupid. Why are y'all so stupid?
Get better problems, I swear to God that y'all want them. Y'all so dumb.
People so stupid. People so dumb. People so boo-hoo, wah, wah, wah.
Get better issues, we're gonna run out of tissues, it's so dumb. I'm a hater cause I can't relate to gay pride. Call me homophobic because I don't wanna date guys. K-tight. I for one am not surprised the world declined along the way. Give trophies to children for losing just cause they decide to play. We exercise our right to vote and hate the politicians. Ay, this is a democracy, it's partly your decision. Ay, this is weird, feels like this a different year. If I identify as a female, then when my balls and penis disappear. Children want a gender switch and hating men is feminist. Depression and anxiety are trendy, we're too sensitive. Invented 80 genders, mad the world is not accepting it. Then gave them more attention than normal women and men can get. What a contradiction, being human is so tragic. Focus on minorities, ignoring all the masses. Hallelujah, everyone. Activism saved the planet. No more plastic straws and paper, just paper straws wrapped in plastic. Congratulations.
Y'all so stupid. Why are y'all so stupid?
Get better problems, I swear to God that y'all want them. Y'all so dumb.
People so stupid. People so dumb. People so boo-hoo, wah, wah, wah.
Get better issues, we're gonna run out of tissues, it's so dumb. Look, I get it, it's like the world is going crazy. Seems like a school shooting happens almost daily. The racism, rape culture, hatred that we're facing is way too ingrained for our hashtags to change it. We've become so lazy and complacent, afraid of our generation. We think activism's Instagramming memes and complaining. It's a problem when there's actually actions you could be taking, but you're triggered so you just cry like a baby.
Y'all so stupid. Why are y'all so stupid?
Get better problems, I swear to God that y'all want them. Y'all so dumb.
People so stupid. People so dumb. People so boo-hoo, wah, wah, wah.
Get better issues, we're gonna run out of tissues, it's so dumb.
So awesome. Dude's a beast. This dude is a beast. So, Heather says, it's truly baffling how stupid people are nowadays. Yeah, that's kind of the theme here of what I'm doing, but I can't even bring myself to get angry about it because I'm just so disheartened. Both, Kevin Rottello, both guys you're talking about had bad and long criminal history backgrounds. Long history criminal backgrounds. Floated B&E on a pregnant woman, George Floyd, and the guy that was shot had a rape charge. I have no shame for any of them, no care for any of them. I mean, it is what it is. People can turn their lives around, I get it, but when you're in the streets attacking a 17-year-old boy because he disagrees with you politically, and then you get shot for it, don't attack a 17-year-old kid with a gun who has different opinions than you, especially when you have a gun. It's that simple. Don't walk around with a gun and threaten people. He might not have pulled the trigger if he didn't get attacked. He probably wouldn't have. Didn't look like he shot anyone that wasn't attacking him either. Let's talk about that. I love his music. Yes, Tom McDonald. I love his music. His look can have a little to be worked on, but his music is dope. And I like what he's talking about. Now, I'm so baffled here today, guys. I really don't even know what to say in this day and age. Right now, here today, I'm at a loss for words. I'm at a loss for words. I'm never at a loss for words. I come on these things so empowered and fired up, and I have a mission and I have an agenda. And today I have nothing. I have nothing. The RNC was great. Play stupid games, get stupid prizes. I've heard so many people say that, and it is a great line because it's the truth. You need to not do stupid shit. Stop resisting arrest. Stop fighting police officers. Stop breaking the law. Stop being a criminal. If any one of these activists focused on stopping people from committing crimes, we would... Here's the thing, okay? Every problem has a root, okay? So, if I bake a cake and it doesn't come out right, okay? You could say, well, you put it in the oven wrong. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But maybe there was something before that was even more important. Well, maybe you didn't use the right ingredients. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. Let's check it. Maybe I did use the right ingredients, though. So maybe there's something else. Maybe I used the wrong mixture. Maybe I used the wrong percentage of ingredients. Maybe I didn't mix them properly. You got to go back to the foundation. You have to keep going backwards and say, what could have been prevented? What could have stopped the entire thing from happening? If the answer that you're giving doesn't stop the entire event from happening, it's not the solution. And the only solution that stops the entire event from happening is stop committing crimes. Stop overdosing on fentanyl in the case of George Floyd. That's it. And he overdosed on the fentanyl, most likely because I saw a video where you could see the fentanyl in his mouth from the body cam footage. And most likely did it because he committed a crime. The police showed up. He didn't want to go to jail for fentanyl possession, so he ate it. Stupid game. Why would you do that? You eat weed if you get pulled over in a state where it's illegal. At least you won't die. And don't swallow the baggie. Take it out of the baggie and eat the weed. And I'm not even telling you to do that because I live in a legal state and I don't have to worry about this stuff. Fuck Floyd. Yes, I agree. I don't know what just happened there with the chat. We just had a quick refresh. But man, I don't know. I'm blown away today by the stupidity of people, man. I'm blown away. People so stupid. That's it. You know, you can't, it's like, okay. It's like, okay, ready? It's like if you think the answer to solving drunk driving is to have more people get randomly pulled over and tested for drunk driving or to wear seatbelts. Both of those things would help, but the actual solution to the drunk driving problem is to stop driving drunk. All states should be legal. I agree with that. I am certainly a person who believes in the nationwide of the medical use of marijuana, and now that I live in a legal state, I can be honest and say that I am also very much so in favor of the recreational use of marijuana nationwide. That is a no-brainer. Trump had an effective speech last night. He did. And he talked a lot about the Biden-Sanders manifesto and what they're planning on doing to this country, and it's dangerous. I read it over, and if you guys want me to give you a summary of what it was like, it read like this. Because it's not good. It's not good at all. I wonder what this sounds like. That one doesn't sound as good as. That one sounds better. Sounds nicer. People are more likely to believe that one, I feel like. But man, give me your opinions. What do you guys want to talk about? I'm not going to be on here forever because we're leaving at 3 and I still have to get ready. You might get another 20 minutes out of me. This is going to be a short episode, but like I said, next week, we're going to come back jam-packed. We're going to watch, you know what we'll do? Let's watch a video, you guys. Let's watch a nice video that's going to fill out our time nicely. And I know exactly where I want to go for one. Here's a good one. Oh, this is going to be beautiful. We're watching this one to the end as well. Ready? Only sociopaths reject the new normal.
Welcome back, friends. Welcome back to the Corbett Report. I am your host, James Corbett of CorbettReport.com, and you are tuned into...
Just want to say thank you for everyone who joins us. Thank you for everyone who joins each and every week, each and every time I go live. Don't think I don't appreciate it. I appreciate even more when you guys share the video. Share the video on Facebook. Share it to get eyes on this. I love our group. And another thing I want to bring up, by the way, we are about to expand. We are about to expand and have a lot more people in here. So appreciate this video as maybe one of the last before we start to get a lot more viewers, because I've had an idea. I'm going to go onto other people's pages as from the bottom of the rabbit hole, and I'm going to make comments, and I'm going to plug the show, and I'm going to challenge complete strangers to come in and watch and prove me wrong. So hopefully this works and we're going to get a lot more interesting. But as of right now, I want to bring to you James Corbett and why only sociopaths reject the new normal in the world of the people who believe the propaganda. Let's take a look.
Propaganda Watch, and this week I have some bad news for most of the Corbett Report audience, namely that if you are in any way against the idea of the containment measures that the unelected, unaccountable health authorities have declared are necessary to contain this dreaded scourge of COVID-19, then you are most likely...
Heather, thank you very much. Enjoy your better weekend with your better half. My phone is about to die. Love you. See you next week. Heather, love you too. Good luck. Be safe. Stay strong.
A sociopath. At least according to the boffins from Brazil, by way of the interpretation of places like SciPost.com, where you may have seen the article recently, sociopathic traits linked to non-compliance with mask guidelines and other COVID-19 containment measures, where they note that new research from Brazil has found that people who are unconcerned with adhering to measures to prevent the spread of COVID-19 tend to display higher levels of traits associated with antisocial personality disorder, also known as sociopathy. The findings have been published in the journal Personality and Individual Differences. On March 11th, 2020, the World Health Organization declared the outbreak of the novel coronavirus SARS-CoV-2 to be a global pandemic. Governments around the world urged people to follow preventive health measures such as frequent hand washing and physical distancing, and oddly, they fail to note in this particular article that at the time, the health authorities, at least in the US and in many other countries, actively advocated against wearing masks. But that did change later on, and then they said, oh, don't worry, we were lying then, but we're telling you the truth now. So that's just a little part of that story that they don't include in this article for some reason. But it goes on to say that it is noticeable that compliance with containment measures varies greatly between people, said the authors of the new study. This is at least partially connected with psychological factors such as personality traits. So specifically, what is being referred to? It is an article published in the January 2021 edition of Personality and Individual Differences, which is available online now. Compliance with containment measures to the COVID-19 pandemic over time. Do antisocial traits matter? And there are a team of researchers from Brazil that worked on this, but ultimately they go on to talk about how they conducted a study of 1,578 Brazilian adults aged 18 to 73 years old who answered facets from the PID-5, the effective resonance factor of the ACME, and a questionnaire about compliance with containment measures. So this is all self-reported from questionnaires, and they managed to piece together this conclusion. Our findings indicated that antisocial traits, especially lower levels of empathy and higher levels of callousness, deceitfulness, and risk-taking, are directly associated with lower compliance with containment measures. These traits explain, at least partially, the reason why people continue not adhering to the containment measures even with increasing numbers of cases and deaths. Absolute BS. If you don't spot the scientific sleight of hand that they just employed there, then you're not paying attention, but we will go through this in some more detail. I will invite you to look at the actual study itself. Don't take SciPost.com or some other commentator's word for it. Actually read the study so that you know precisely what these researchers did and precisely what they are claiming based on that quote-unquote evidence. And you will discover in their methodology section that they were, for example, giving a self-reported test on personality inventory as approved by the DSM-5. We all know about the Diagnostic Statistical Manual. Is that what it is? DSM-5. The latest iteration of the Psychological Bible that's put out by the American Psychological Association, and which I have talked about before, more on which in a moment, but they also gave an affective and cognitive measure of empathy self-reported test, and then a questionnaire about engagement behaviors to COVID-19 with the following questions. 1. Do you think it is necessary to avoid approaching people as much as possible until the coronavirus situation is controlled? And then they include in brackets so that you know what they're talking about, social distancing. Number 2, do you think it is necessary to wash your hands and or use alcohol gel as many times a day until the coronavirus situation is controlled? Again, I am assuming that since this questionnaire was delivered in Brazil, that this is originally in Portuguese, so I'm assuming the actual question they asked on the questionnaire was not grammatically incorrect, as this question is. Grammatically incorrect in a way as to make the question, if not meaningless, at least indeterminate, what it is actually asking. Do you think it is necessary to wash your hands and or use alcohol gel as many times a day until the coronavirus situation is controlled? What does that mean? As many times a day until is not an actual question. As many times a day is as necessary until? I don't know. Again, and what does that mean? How many times a day? Once, twice, 3 times, every hour, every time you do such and such an action? Again, it's such a meaningless question. And then 3, do you think it is necessary to use face mask that protects nose and mouth in Brazil? Bracket, face mask, in case you didn't pick up on the key word there. And then there were 3 further questions about diagnoses. Did you test for COVID-19? Do you know someone who tested for COVID-19? And did you present symptoms of COVID-19, i.e. fever, cough? I mean, just these general symptoms that 99% of the public has in any given year in the last 2 weeks. And then they go on to report their findings. And Any guesses on how many of these 1,578 adults that were surveyed here actually, A, were tested for COVID-19, and B, reported a positive test? Well, the answer to A, out of 1,578 adults questioned, a grand total of 32 of them had taken the, as we know from previous reports and other work that's being done at offguardian.org and other places, the ultimately meaningless, likely PCR test for COVID-19. So 32 people had actually received such a test. And out of those 32 people, the grand total of 5 had received their positive or potentially false positive results. So there you go, 5 out of 1,578 of the people being surveyed. So again, let's go back to that conclusion that they come up with that they put front and center in their abstract, because I think this is highly relevant and shows a sleight of hand that they expect you not to notice. So they say that differences were sustained in the interaction with the containment measures in weeks separately, but not all acting together. Our findings indicated that antisocial traits, especially lower levels of empathy and higher levels of callousness, deceitfulness, and risk-taking, are directly associated with lower compliance with containment measures. So, directly associated in this case means that according to this self-reported questionnaire and this test and these answers to these specific questions, the people who scored higher on this antisocial behavior score also tended to be less likely to comply with containment measures. That's the association. And then they say these traits explain, at least partially, the reason why people continue not adhering to the containment measures, even with increasing numbers of cases and deaths. No. This does not explain. This is correlation. This is not causation. You have to go a good deal further to discover causation. So one example of an alternative explanation as to the reason why people continue not adhering to containment measures, it might be because, for example, out of 1,578 adults that you asked about this, a grand total of 32 of them had been tested and 5 of them had received a positive result. How many of those positive results were in the hospital, in ICU, on ventilators? I'm going to venture to guess 0, right? But at any rate, probably not all of them. So out of this incredibly vast sample, you have a tiny sliver of a fraction of a percentage point of people who had even been tested, let alone tested positive for this illness. And people are supposed to be deathly afraid of this and rigidly adhering to all of the containment measures that they're told by the health authorities. And the only reason why they do not do that, the only possible explanation that we can possibly imagine as to why that is because they are sociopaths. I think there are other alternative explanations. And here's the really baffling thing about this, and one of the important reasons why I do say that you should go and read this actual study. Highlights. There's this little info box of highlights of the study at the top of the page here. And the third highlight is of particular interest to me because it says, quote, "The increase in COVID-19 cases in the country are not associated with people's adherence to containment measures." What? Hold on. Read that again. The increase in COVID-19 cases in the country are not associated with people's adherence to containment measures. Wait, what is that saying? I believe I am interpreting that statement, and perhaps I am misinterpreting, but I again, perhaps English is not these researchers' first language, so perhaps they are incapable of saying what they're trying to say. But it certainly sounds like they are saying there is no correlation between adherence to containment measures and the increase in COVID-19 cases, i.e. the containment measures are not proven to actually do anything. Now, the strange thing about this is I have had a glance through this study, and I do not see anywhere in the study where that particular highlight is actually discussed. So, I invite you to go and read through this. If you can find what that precisely is referring to in this study, please do so, and please point it out to us in the comments section at CorbettReport.com, because that doesn't make any sense, especially in terms of the study itself. Again, the only reason why people might not comply with these containment measures is because they're sociopaths. Oh, and by the way, the containment measures aren't associated with aren't in any way correlated to the increasing numbers of cases. What? Again, it's statements like these that don't seem on their face to make any sense, and then unwarranted leaps that are then unquestioningly and unproblematically reported by SciPost.org and other such websites. So there's a lot going on here, but I will actually direct you to the science subreddit, where, as you would expect, all of the top comments are all about, oh, these damn anti-maskers, they're all sociopaths, but we already knew that. These are horrible, deceitful, risk-taking people that don't care about, they don't have any human empathy, blah, blah, blah. But if you actually scroll all the way down and click to load more comments and scroll all the way down and scroll about as far as you can go, you start getting into some comments that are actually worth reading, including ones that call into question some of the very basic premises of the study. For example, Poke the Lady has this comment: "Not sure I agree with this headline in consideration of the study. 3 questions assessed adherence. Do you think it's necessary to avoid approaching people as much as possible? Do you think it's necessary to wash your hands and or use alcohol gel as many times a day? Do you think it is necessary to use face mask?" These questions all ask the participant their opinion. They do not ask the participant what they have or will do in the future. An individual can disagree with the merits or necessity of a policy and still follow that policy, either through the weight of government mandate or public peer pressure. Reading this study, I think the headline should switch non-compliance with disagreement. So that's one valid point about the way they are interpreting the results of this questionnaire. Pomyao 2 points out what I just noted there in the highlights. Also from the study, the increase in COVID-19 cases in the country did not seem to be associated with people's adherence to the containment measures. So what's the point of the containment measures? Notes, R-squared values are extremely low. Again, there are some other... The fallacy here is their failure to address the obvious. Sociopaths tend to be non-compliant in general. Well, there you go. Sociopathic is not an academic term. More importantly, it is not the same thing as antisocial PD. Shame on this website for using them interchangeably. Again, more people pointing out that this is correlation, not causation. There's actually some pushback in the comments again, buried way down at the bottom once you get past the circle jerk at the top. But it does show that there is some degree of critical thinking and skepticism going on with regards to studies like these, and that no, you are not necessarily a sociopath because you dare to question the rules and guidelines set down by the unelected, unaccountable health authorities that, oh, by the way, are sometimes lying to you for your own good, as Fauci and others have admitted, and as I have played on the Corbett Report here in the recent past. So let's address the bigger question and the bigger problem here, because this does actually present a potential nightmare scenario that is laid out in this article itself, where the researchers in the scientific article, where the researchers say that our findings can be used for public health policies. For example, through screenings that demonstrate an elevation in these traits, interventions can be carried out aiming at greater awareness and consequent compliance with containment measures. We suggest that further studies be carried out investigating the interaction of these traits with other variables. Now, if you read that paragraph and shivers did not go down your spine, then either they have succeeded in cloaking the horrific nature of what they're proposing there in suitably academic, jargony, cushy language that doesn't feel so particularly pointed, or you are not paying attention, because what is being said there is that, well, if the public health authorities in the new biosecurity paradigm start implementing screenings for these sociopathic traits, and we identify you as one of these non-compliant individuals, then we can take certain interventions to make sure that you comply or are more likely to comply with these containment measures for your icky organic body. Now, again, there is a long and very disturbing history to this type of psychological intervention for political dissent, because make no mistake, what is happening right now is the politicization of certain behaviors, and if you are a political dissident, you are now a psychologically challenged individual. This is called the pathologization of dissent. They are trying to take political dissent and make it into a psychological disorder. And there is a long, and as I say, disturbing history to this. This is not coming out of nowhere. For example, it is well documented because in the freedom-loving West, led by the U.S. as the shining beacon on the hill, it's okay to criticize the enemy, the menace. So, for example, there is a lot of literature on how the Soviet Union pathologized political dissent, and you can read up on the psychushkas, the psychiatric hospitals, where political dissidents were imprisoned on the basis of having been pathologized as being mentally insane because they dared to question authority, where the money quote, ideas about a struggle for truth and justice are formed by personalities with a paranoid structure, according to the Serbsky Institute professors back in the old Soviet system. So, yes, we can see quite obviously from that example, again, well documented, because the Red Boogeyman, well, yes, they did do horrible, horrific things to political dissidents in the Soviet Union. Or the latest iteration of the Red Menace, the Red Scare, is, of course, China. So we have a plethora of information about the very real and very horrible things that China does to its own political dissidents. Also, in the name of psychiatric care, essentially pathologizing, again, political dissent or counter-revolutionary thought in the Maoist system that, of course, was taken over by Deng Xiaoping and his various successors right through to Xi Jinping. It continues to this day, and there's, again, a long and well-documented history of this. For example, Robin Monroe has written on this subject, and it's been covered by Human Rights Watch and other organizations like that are perfectly fine with talking about abuses, well, over there, not so much over here, but of course, the over here is exceptionally important as well, and has been documented here and there. For example, you will recall that I have talked about on Propaganda Watch before the idea of psychologists having been important in implementing the torture program that the CIA used in the wake of 9/11, and which was exposed years down the road, years later. But yes, psychologists were employed to strengthen the measures that were taken in the CIA torture program, and that has been covered here and there. For example, Physicians for Human Rights had a report on aiding torture in 2009 that covered some of the human rights violations that were demonstrated in the May 2004 Inspector General's report on the CIA torture program. So again, even what the US government itself admits to is the weaponization of psychology against dissidents. And if that term, weaponization of psychology, rings a bell for you, well then congratulations, you are a Corbett Reporter, and you will remember episode 98 of the Corbett Report podcast, where we talked about weaponized psychology, and I highlighted the case of a 9/11 truth researcher in New Zealand who was referred to psychiatric care against her will for having dared to question what happened on 9/11. Again, that was pathologization of dissent, and this has its roots in establishment psychological practice right now. Something that I've been over on this program a couple of times with Dr. Bruce Levine, perhaps most notably back in interview 474 on the anti-authoritarian mind, where we talked about the DSM-4, again, the psychological Bible, as it's called, and its pathologization of dissent under the guise of oppositional defiance disorder. If you're a child and you don't like to do what you're told at all times, you are an oppositional defiance disorder sufferer, and I'm sure there are many medications that we can prescribe for you for that, right? Again, the pathologization of dissent, it starts very early and is drummed into children so that they know by the time they are adults to comply. And if you still don't comply with the mask guidelines or other, then you are clearly a sociopath. And don't worry, public health officers will, at some point in the future, have screenings for people like you and will then be able to target you for more appropriate interventions to make sure that you comply with the guidelines. And that can take many different forms. But here's one very interesting proposal that may have crossed your radar recently, not least of which because I included it in this weekend's subscriber newsletter at corbettreport.com. But it is a article from a professor, an associate professor of medical ethics, i.e. a bioethicist, who I will not even bother to name by name because I think this is a clickbait article designed to generate controversy, to generate more publicity for this particular professor. But what he is saying in this article is chilling, and I will provide the link if you are interested in reading it for yourself, as always. This is from theconversation.com, just posted up a couple of weeks ago. Morality pills may be the US's best shot at ending the coronavirus pandemic, according to one ethicist. Quote, COVID-19 is a collective risk. It threatens everyone, and we all must cooperate to lower the chance that the coronavirus harms any one individual. Among other things, that means keeping safe social distances and wearing masks. But many people choose not to do these things, making spread of infection more likely. He goes on to lament the tragedy of the commons. Oh, well, if everyone shares the same pasture for their individual flocks, some people are going to graze their animals longer, or let them eat more than their fair share, ruining the commons in the process. So selfish and self-defeating behavior undermines the pursuit of something from which everyone can benefit, such as democratically enacted enforceable rules, like mask wearing and social distancing. Democratically enacted enforceable rules. What an interesting framing. And he goes on to say that my research in bioethics focuses on questions like how to induce those who are non-cooperative to get on board with doing what's best for the public good. To me, it seems the problem of coronavirus defectors could be solved by moral enhancement. Like receiving a vaccine to beef up your immune system, people could take a substance to boost their cooperative pro-social behavior. Could a psychoactive pill be the solution to the pandemic? Well, yes, he goes on to basically make the argument for that, based completely around this total pseudoscientific nonsense about the idea of some pill that's going to deliver some sort of moral boost to you, make you more altruistic and more giving and more generous and more cooperative, as if that necessarily translates into you will wear a mask. Because, again, the underlying premise of this is that wearing a mask or whatever rule they come up with, you have to touch your nose 5 times on Tuesday or whatever the health authorities say will protect you, you have to do. And you will do if you're an altruistic and giving and generous person. But wait, what if, for example, you have reason to believe that the social distancing guidelines that the health authorities are saying is total quackery, that you truly believe it's absolute nuttery to do that? Or perhaps even if you believe that it is adverse to your health. If, for example, you have questions about the, say, experimental mRNA vaccine that they're going to unveil on the public in the next few months, and they're going to say is the answer to everything. If you have genuine concerns and questions about the health, safety, efficacy of such an intervention, such a treatment, does it make you sociopathic for refusing it? Does it mean that if you took some sort of imaginary, which doesn't exist anyway, morality pill to boost your cooperativeness and your generosity, that would make you then get the vaccine that you think doesn't have any basis in actually helping you? No, of course not. Again, this is all predicated on the absolutely completely stupid and gibberish notion that what the health authorities are arguing is what you believe and you know to be right and you know to be good, but you are not doing it because you just don't care about other people. Again, assuming that there can be no other reason for not wanting to follow these guidelines other than that you are a sociopath. So, again, I was going to say I don't think these people are arguing in good faith. It actually doesn't matter. Perhaps they truly believe from the bottom of their heart that the only possible explanation for not believing the unelected, unaccountable health authorities and every pronouncement that they make, even when they tell you that they have lied to you in the past, The only possible reason you could have for not believing them and not trusting them and not 100% going along with whatever they are saying today is because you are a sociopath. Maybe they really believe that.
Kevin Rottello,
But
go
I know
for it.
anyone with two
Crush it, my
brain
friend.
cells to rub together does not necessarily believe that. So I think this is an exceptionally important part of the biosecurity paradigm that we're sleepwalking into, the pathologization of dissent. We have seen it in the past, as I say, 9/11 Truth Research and other people who have questioned the pronouncements of authorities have certainly suffered the problems as a result of that in terms of being psychologized, having their political dissent psychologized into some sort of pathology. But that is going to be employed even more strenuously in this new paradigm, which is all about health anyway. And if you're not going to take one for the team and do something for the good of society, even if you do not believe that it is good, well, we will make you believe it is good one way or another, i.e. we will find excuses to drug you up in whatever way we think is necessary in order to make you want to receive the vaccine. And I should note that, of course, bioethics should not be a neutral-sounding or even good-sounding term in your ears if you know the real history of that profession. If you do not, I will exhort you to read my recent article on from eugenics to bioethics, where I did talk about some of that history and some of the shady characters that are involved in bioethics, trying to convince you of certain behavioral changes that should be made for your own good, i.e. the good of the eugenicists. I will also once again direct you back to the actual article that this is stemming from, Compliance with Containment Measures to the COVID-19 Pandemic Over Time, Do Antisocial Traits Matter? Again, read it for yourself and come to your own conclusions about the conclusions that they come to. And while you're there, just as a little bonus, in the recommended articles sidebar, there is a link to an October 2020 edition of Personality and Individual Differences. An article in that edition is The Development and Initial Tests for the Psychometric Properties of the COVID-19 Phobia Scale, where they propose in this study a novel type of specific phobia, COVID-19 phobia, which is an interesting idea and perhaps more based in reality than this idea that only sociopaths could be against mask guidelines and other such things. At any rate, we'll leave this exploration here for today, but obviously we'll be returning to this topic, I am sure, in the near future. But I will, as always, put all of these links in the show notes so that you can go and explore them for yourself. There's a lot of very important matters that are happening right now. This is one of them. I will, as always, be here examining them with you here at CorbettReport.com. I hope you'll be here to join me for that. Until next time, James Corbett, CorbettReport.com.
I'm just going to end on this note. I'm aggravated. I'm distracted. Last Friday's show I wasn't really thrilled with. I hated it. Today's show, I'm not particularly happy with. I'm distracted. I'm pissed off because I got into an argument with someone yesterday on Facebook, and I allowed them to draw me into clown world. I allowed them to force me to debate shit that's not real, instead of just putting my foot down and saying this isn't real. And it kind of pissed me off a little. Not only that, but I'm in general, I'm frustrated and I'm aggravated with the fact that there are situations outside of my control which are affecting my ability to be able to do things like prepare properly for my Friday show, to be able to do what needs to be done to make these good. So here's where I'm going to make a promise. I'm wrapping this up. I love you guys. I genuinely value and appreciate anyone who gives me their time and who opens their mind and who spreads this information to others and convinces others to do the same thing. And take the time and invest in yourself. Value time that you have. Value time, because time isn't free. Time doesn't come easily. And not everybody has control over all their free time. You get calls from friends. You get asked to do things. You go places. You see people. You maintain a social life. You work. You go to the supermarket. You cook dinner. You exercise. You have to catch up on information. And I understand this. And it's the same thing with me. I'm going through it as well. And it's just frustrating. And I'm going to make a promise to you of this. Next Friday is going to be a banger. I think my theme for next Friday is just going to be Trump. I'm going to show up with an American flag when this thing comes live, wrapped around my shoulders. Hopefully, if I can find it, my Make America Great Again hat right on my head. Actually, I'm pretty sure I know exactly where it is. Actually, I'm pretty sure. You know what I'll do real quick? I'll show you guys my hat collection. See, not my Make America Great Again hat, because I put that away to keep it nice. But I got a few others for you. My party hat. This is my party hat. Of course, as labeled by Hillary Clinton, deplorable. And then, everybody's favorite cartoon frog, my boy Pepe. Life sucks. Feels good, man. But I'm going to come on next Friday because I'm going to respect myself this week. I'm going to respect this show. I'm going to give the proper amount of effort needed to be able to prepare when I do these things. And I am not going to allow sources that are outside of my control to affect my ability to respect this show and respect this time that you guys give me. And it's going to be improved. We've come a long way, but there's a long way to go. And like I said, I'm planning on doing marketing. I'm planning on trying to get eyes to turn in that don't know me on a personal level. People that are going to see and experience this and want to come join in. And that's what I'm going to do, because I'm not going to do another show where I get off and say that fucking sucked and I hated it. Because I wasn't doing preparation at the beginning. And I'm not saying I need to do preparation all the time now. But what I am saying is I need to respect myself enough to continue to at least be prepared to do these shows with no preparation. So, on that note, I'm going to end this, and I'm going to read a book for an hour before I have to pack my shit up and get ready. Maybe even an hour and a half. And I'm going to get a lot of fucking reading done, and nobody's going to fucking bother me, and nobody's going to fucking tell me what I have to do, and no one's going to make me do shit. I'm going to fucking respect myself. I'm going to respect you guys who watch, and I'm going to fucking respect this brand enough that I don't come on here and do a show again that I tell you afterwards I fucking hated. Because if that's the case, if I do another show that I hate, then guess what? I'm not going to do this show anymore. And that's not an option. That's not an option until we get our country back. Until it's common knowledge that people were being lied to for so many years and they're no longer being lied to. That's when I can stop this show. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, you have a great night. Share the video. Don't share this one. Think it sucks. Tell me it sucks in the comments. Send me a message that says you suck. I get it. But on that note, I'm out, and I'm respecting myself, and I'm going to do some preparation.